start. So, Bobby, it's great to have you on the show. Welcome to The Real Mob. I want to ask you a bunch of questions about your life in the mob, in the mafia. You've had a long career in the mob, and I thought it'd be really nice to get your insight into the mob life and whether it is how it actually is displayed in the movies and things like The Sopranos and things like that. So it's great to have you on the show. And I'm just gonna go straight into the questions.
Well, about 16 years old, I knew what it was. I didn't know the depth of it, but about 16 years old, I moved back in the North End in my father's building. And he had a Big Ten family building on Michelangelo Street over there. And the family still owns most of the street there today. And I was 16 years old. I had an apartment. I quit school. I was working carpentry. And I was also hanging around with the wise guys. So I'd go into the pizza joints or whatever restaurants they had because my father was with them, and I felt at that age they were starting to groom me a little.
So when you were growing up, some fathers who are in the mob already don't want their sons to be involved in the mafia. What did your father? What was your father's take on it? Did he want you involved, or was he like, no, you know what, we need to make sure you stay away from this stuff?
I was all, like I said, my father always had me around these made guys, and it was just part of his life. We're not any real true involvement, until I got older.
Right.
When I did come back from the vineyard in 1990, I lost everything, and I put a gun on my back and went on the street. And my father, he gave me a little hard time in the beginning. He really didn't like some of the things that were going on. He let me know about that. My
like
father.
What?
Well, I was chasing after drug dealers and, the bookmaking and starting a loan shark business. And, he had concern about that. He did. Sure. I think really he wanted to have more control over what I was doing. But I was a little, kind of like a wahoo at the time. And I had my own opinions and views on what I should be able to do on the street. And it kind of divided us a little, But was he 100% thrilled that I was in the mob now? No.
Powerhouses at the time. We know that, Whitey Bulger was a big player in Boston. Obviously, Jerry Angulo. Who did you meet at an early age that you thought, well, hang on, these guys are the serious guys. These guys are the big players. Who was that person?
Well, more like a second in command at Boston was Larry Bione, or Larry Zanino. He was a cop of the Gene in the family.
Sure.
I used to go into the Bellinopoli on Hanover Street, with a pizza restaurant joint that was owned by Johnny Ciccardi, and he was one of his soldiers. And Ralphie Chong, he was a big name up there. Ralph used to hang in there. He was one of Larry's soldiers. That was their little crew. There were 3 different capos just in the North End.
Right.
Jerry was on Prince Street. Larry Bione's crew was on Hanover Street. Sammy Granito's crew was down the street on Hanover and Commercial. So there was a lot of wise guys around then. But the most I was around was Johnny Ciccardi, Richie Gambale, Ralphie Chong, Matina, and Larry Bione. Now, when I was around and we'd be in the pizza joint, to me and my cousins would hang around in there, obviously, We try to dress the best we could every day, hang around with these guys. And when Larry Bione walked in, everybody got an attention. He was the man, And he was the first guy, not that I wanted to emulate, but the first guy that I really looked up to say, wow, you see how people respect this guy, how they fear this guy. This guy really got going on. Sure. So Larry probably was my first biggest impression in a leadership role. But the other guys, Richie and Johnny just passed away recently. God bless his soul. I know him since I was a kid. I believe Ralphie Chong's gone now too. And these were the first guys that were any type of an influence to me. So you have to remember, when I was working for the vending company, I met everybody,
Sure.
Social clubs and everything.
So when did you actually see your first real bit of serious violence in the mob? Because there's a lot of violence in the mob life. When was your first experience of seeing violence or inflicting violence on someone? Tell me about that.
Well, I thought a great guy even before I got involved, but I seen a lot of violence before I even got involved with the mob.
Right.
I was asked a lot of favors just because I was Bobby Luisi's son, and I took care of a lot of things myself. There were incidents I went at people's homes, and one time we left a guy just about dead on the floor. I'll talk about that because we didn't kill him, but that was very violent that night. Two of us went in there. The man raised his hands to his wife, and we helped out the family.
Sure.
This is the type of thing that we do.
Yeah.
And that was before I was even really running on the street. This is just, I grew up with violence.
So clearly you were desensitized to the violence on the street. So I guess you didn't have many emotions when it came to actually, if someone had to take a beating, you'd do it, right? Or someone had to be taken out of the scene, you'd do it.
I see, from my childhood and what I saw growing up, what I believed of the life, even though I wasn't in it at the time when I was a kid. Like I said, I was raised around a lot of violence. Thank God, I come from a peaceful home, but besides that, on the street every day. And I don't know, it's just the way that I learned in life. I realized later as I went on, like COSA NOSTRA, that I didn't have too many feelings. I was desensitized from everything. I didn't care about death. I didn't care about life. I cared about nothing. We care about our kids in that life and our parents and our, immediate family. Other than that, that didn't bother me. I didn't care either way.
Is it true that when you get made in the ceremony, they ask you, do you know why you're here? And you should answer. It's kind of a running joke. Is this true? And you have to answer no. Is that true? Or
Yeah, that is true. Because if you were aware of what was happening, then someone else could be. They just want to protect that.
Sure.
You're not supposed to know.
Right. Okay. But you did know, obviously.
Of course I did. I didn't know what day or when it was coming, but when I was down in Philly, I knew it was going to happen. I didn't know when though.
Mm-hmm.
Then I was just, look, come on, let's go in the car, and that's how that was done. Yeah.
We're on the streets. You were dealing in narcotics. You were making money. You're well respected by all the factions, the Philly mob that you're working with. Where did it all start to go wrong in life for you?
Well, something happened to me. It's a spiritual thing. Something happened to me. It was, I'll tell you the date. It was March 1998, March 27th. And I had a spiritual experience that lasted about 8 hours. Demonic force came to me. Years ago, my mother had a church. They started in 1980, charismatic movement, born again Christian, and I was like on the fence with it. And I was really, really a vile person. If you really knew half the things I did, in my life. So this thing came to me, and the only way I could fight it off was, thank God, I used to go to my mother's Bible studies when I first got married, my first wife and I. And so when this thing came, I was trying to fight it off with Jesus' name. And I seen the power in Jesus' name with this thing. And I asked this thing, I said, is Jesus, y'all here? Is Jesus coming? He told me no. But just mentioning his name, I would keep seeing this thing regress, going backwards. And this lasted for 8 hours, my friend. So wow. I went that night from being a diehard gangster to wanting to see Christ to find out what happened to me and why this happened to me. And that took me on a different journey. Now, this is 15 months before I got arrested. As this was going on, I started losing more and more interest. I had probably about $1 million on the street in drug and shy money. Maybe not a lot compared to some of these guys in New York, but there was a lot of money, And I just stopped pursuing things. I knew what I was doing was wrong. I knew the drugs were wrong. And during the course of this, before I got arrested, I had a few dream visions and a few other things happen to me. There was a haunting after this too. I wrote a book about it all. I haven't put it out yet. And so that really started deteriorating. By the time Ronnie came, you know, and this all went down in '99, I was on the fence with everything at that point. I still loved the life. I was still in the life. I was still running my crew. I was still loan sharking, selling drugs, doing what we were doing. But I had a totally different outlook on everything at that point.
Going back to Sopranos, Tony Soprano, obviously, he was seeing a therapist. In your life, in the mob, in the real world, how would that go down if you actually told your crew you're seeing a therapist? I'm thinking that's a big no-no, right? Is that correct?
Any sign of weakness is a big no-no.
That's fantastic, Bobby. Look, it's been an absolute pleasure, talking to you. For me, I've been reading and researching the mob for 20 odd years, and to actually sit down with someone like yourself who's got first-hand experiences of the life and all these characters that we read about and watch on social media, some of them, it's kind of a treasure trove of information for people like myself and all the followers of this channel. So I want to say a big thank you for coming on and sharing your experiences of your life, with us. It's been a real pleasure talking to you. Any final thoughts? What's the